For more amazing military podcasts and content, follow us at paradedeck.com, the #1 place to meet changemakers. See you next time on Badass Military Spouse Connection, a Parade Deck original. For more amazing military podcasts and content, follow us at paradedeck.com, the #1 place to meet changemakers. See you next time on Badass Military Spouse Connection, a Parade Deck original. For more amazing military podcasts and content,
Well, hello. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Aloha in Hawaii, if it is aloha in Hawaii, or all the way to the Pacific Northwest, right? How's everybody doing today? Welcome to another session of this podcast, Badass Military Spouse Connection podcast and live streaming. I have two really special guests today, but I'm trying to listen here to multiple avenues here where we are live. But thank you so much. Frankie, welcome. Candice.
Thank you.
Today.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I'm Laura Torres, and those of you who are out there listening on the waves of Parade Deck, as well as our LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and then, of course, the Badass Military Spouse YouTube channel. Please welcome to another exciting episode of Badass Military Spouse Connection. Of course, I'm Laura, and I'm here joined by great co-host Franchette, a.k.a. Frankie, the original Badass Military Spouse. And you know in a little bit just about why, right? But today we dive into the topic of applying personal self-care and finding our inner focus. Of course, with the holidays coming into very close by, the end of the year pressures, and the last minute changes, all those things that just have to be catched up in your life. We want to know, for real. We want to know what that inner peace and focus, sort of a inner person can be. What do you think, Frankie? How do you find that inner self and that medium and all that good balance?
For me, I like to just kind of step back and breathe a moment. I have to breathe every day. You have to take time out for yourself. So for me, I just only breathe. And I know that sounds really funny, but a lot of people don't take time to breathe. They just rush. I have to take time to balance out my faith. My joy and peace has to be in balance. If that's not in balance, I don't stay around anyone. I don't do any type of work. It has to be that way. And so tonight is joy and peace is balance.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. And can I tell you that you are my balance? You balance me. Absolutely. Since I met you, you totally balance me. So we're a good pair. And I'm going to keep,
yes, we are.
I'm going to keep sending you vibes and virtual hugs so that we can make a solid decision nearby. But I do want to give a shout out to our Parade Deck team, our producer in the back, as well as all the Parade Deck change makers. So if you are not part of Parade Deck yet, be sure that you look us up and find out how you can be part of this extreme community, exciting community where you can stream, you can host your events, you can just belong and just be fantastic part of something. So, but anyway, we're talking here way too much, and we have a very special guest here, an official Badass certified military spouse. Would you say that, Frankie?
Definitely. She is a badass.
Tell us who. Yeah. So we have Candice, who is a holistic wellness educator, and Candice is just very much so well known among our military spouse community. So we're very excited to hear a little bit more about her tips and how we can really just finish up the year in a good, positive mindset. Correct?
Yes. I love that. 100%.
Absolutely. All right. So tell us, Candice, a little bit about yourself and your military spouse story.
Sure. So a little bit about myself. I am a Reiki healer, so Reiki master, and I like to think of myself as a holistic on sharing the knowledge and the tips and the ability to take control of your energy to all of the clients that I work with, because education is our biggest way to learn further about ourselves, but then also spread that into our community. And about myself, so I have 3 adult children now, empty nester first time. I have a stepdaughter who is 12. And my military meeting of my husband, actually, it's a hilarious story. So at the time, I was working for Walgreens, and his cousin would come in all the time. And she was just talking about this cousin, and I'm at work, so I'm not paying attention. I'm like actively listening, of course, but I was like, okay, this is great. Your cousin's coming to live to the area. Cool. And so then she like sets up this blind date that I didn't realize was a blind date until like the day before. I was like, do I need to cancel? Would that be rude? Then I have to pick up a shift. I don't want to do that. Like all the things. And so I was like, okay, I will go. Don't let me like this person. I was like praying. I was like, God, I don't need a relationship right now. And sure enough, we had an amazing time. We met, and his kindness, like his genuine care and love was just felt. I know that I felt like the energy of my grandfather, who's no longer with us, like was guiding us together. And he was also in the military as well. And so yeah, we got to know each other from a distance because he was in Leavenworth and I was in Lincoln. And so we called each other and got to know one another, and it started from there.
Awesome. That is so exciting to hear how you you went by what we say out in the common purpose, right? Like you gut feeling, right? But it was more than that. It was just truly a connection of your you guys connecting and really having a little more just inner self, spirits and just a little good energy, I think, right?
Yeah.
And see, go ahead.
I actually forgot to mention that the reason why I didn't cancel is because I got up to do my daily devotion, and in it said, keep your commitments. And I was like, wow, if I couldn't be called out any clearer. So it did. And I've kept that ever since that moment. That really stayed with me to like keep my commitments, no matter how big or small, within reason, obviously.
Of course. Well, thank you. We appreciate and this is one of them, of course, because we've been kind of like up and down to notified you to be here with us and support us and graciously accepted. And then, of course, Miss Frankie. Now, Frankie, you also have a little bit of inner self spiritual connection with your spouse. I see those posts sometimes. I'm going to put you on the spot on that.
Oh, well, my husband and we always do Saturday day dates. We always go on dates because most people think that people don't do dates anymore, and we do dates. Every Saturday, I do day dates, and we just take that whole day to catch up, just what's going on. Even through the week, it's kind of hectic, but on Saturday, that's my day, and so we just get to go downtown, and people know us, and they come up and give us hugs and things like that, and we share like. We buy clothes for their children. They let us know when they're graduating. And people always say, how do y'all make friends? And my daughter always say, it's the Dyer charisma. Everybody loves these two. So we have, I just think it's important, as you have stated, Candice, that we have to have that right energy. Laura has really good energy. Her and I go back and forth real quick. It's not many times I tell her no. When I should probably say no, I go ahead and say yes. But she makes me feel comfortable. And that's something that's very special, especially if you've never met face to face. We've only met over Zoom like 1 or 2 times, and then we just stay connected. So I do think energy can come through Zoom calls, phone calls. It's just up to you as to what you put out.
And I'm coming to Texas, partner, one day to visit you in person and share the energy one-on-one.
Come on down. Look, come on down. Absolutely. I can't wait.
Yeah. Now, I do want to take advantage, of course, that we have Candice here, so she can walk us through this process of, finding a better especially right now as we're going through this hectic time of the holidays and we're trying to figure it out, how do we squeeze and just commit to everything that is out there? So reflecting back on our values and priorities during this time of the year, Candice, what can we do? How can military spouses really just find the positive of all this chaos that comes with the good, the bad, and the good stuff of the holidays?
Yeah, so the biggest thing that I always advocate for is if you are having a hard season or it's like feeling crazy and hectic, maybe you're in PCS season, acknowledge how you're feeling. When we acknowledge our feelings, our emotions, that is how we work through and process through them. And so we're able to guide ourselves forward, even if it's a little crazy, because you don't want to make decisions when you're coming from the energy state of chaos. It's okay to be experiencing it. We want to work through it, but we don't want to approach making those decisions from an energy level that's already depleted. The biggest thing is checking in with yourself. Where are you starting? It's kind of like you wouldn't expect your car to go all the way across town if you were on E, like under E, like the E that you should have stopped 10 E's ago. But you wouldn't expect that out of your vehicle. So why would you do that to this temple? And so really recognizing where your time and energy will be best spent. We put a lot of expectations on ourselves as spouses, as parents, as all these different aspects like mother, daughter. And it's like, we really need to be reasonable. We can show up for the things that we can show up for with our best authentic self and enjoy those moments, and really being able to ask yourself, if I show up for this event, how am I going to show up to the next one? Am I actually present because I'm so depleted that it's just not wasted energy, but it's energy that could have been spent differently? And really just asking yourself, will this matter to me next month? Like if I don't go to this, am I going to be thinking about it next month? Probably not. It's just that we're adding that extra stress and expectation where we don't need to always do that. We can say no and have our boundaries and know what that balance looks like for us, even in any season. Sometimes you'll have 15 things on your list and sometimes you have 0 because that's where your capacity is, and that's okay.
Let me ask you this question, Candice. What happens with that military spouse that maybe her spouse is deployed and they are apart and she has the kids and she's trying to hold it together? And also on top of that, they just PCS to a new place.
Mm-hmm.
How does that individual, and she's a new spouse. So on top of that, she's a new spouse. She just PCS. And when she PCS there, her husband deployed, because this is a real scenario. This is not one made up. This is our real life. So how would you speak to individuals that is in that situation? The military spouses, the soldier that may be deployed, that's trying to put all this together and hold together positive energy for the children, for themselves, for people around them.
So it all boils down to, and I wish that I had known this sooner, is that to be open. When you're open and honest and communicate what you're experiencing, our children pick up their environment irregardless. Energy is everywhere within us. And so trying to pretend that everything is okay is really only disservicing them. They will learn and adapt with you, and being able to know that, of course, we need to be cognizant of how often we're doing these things, but like being able to fully express ourselves in those moments will strengthen them. It will strengthen your bond too, because you're experiencing it together. A great mentor of mine recently said, when you're feeling helpless, be helpful. And so, being able to come together as a family unit and say, this is a mess right now. I don't even know if I'm going to put up a tree. Okay. But you talk and allow both of you to come together with that space and acknowledging where you're at and don't be afraid to reach out to friends and getting connected, because there's so many people. I remember when I was first a military girlfriend, before even becoming the spouse, it was so awkward. You feel like you're like intruding in space or something.
Mhm.
And it's like, no, they're so welcoming. Everyone in this is here together. And so knowing that it's okay to post in a Facebook group, hey, I need support. Like, even if it's a phone call, I just need to talk and work through this. Find a therapist that can help you, because, we have different tools that are available when we utilize them. And the more that we are aware of what we're experiencing, the easier it will be to maneuver through it. Because I don't believe in false positivity. Like, we want to keep our spirits up and do the things, but again, being able to be that authentic self for our children will teach them to do the same thing.
That is so powerful. It just brought me back to when I was younger. In my young marriage, I guess I should say, we were always stationed in kind of like fun places like New Orleans, and then of course San Diego, and then everybody loved coming to visit us because there's always a lot of stuff fun to do. But we were always in a lower ranking when it comes to the financials, right? And I didn't work part full time or any of that stuff, but we loved that family came to visit. But that added so much stress to our family situation, because now we had to sort of leverage additional ways to find funds to go and do the fun stuff with the rest of the family across town, do all these things, commitment to go into different events and activities, pack up a whole week to be the tour guide. And that just was very draining. It was fun, but it was also. I would always, my husband would always say, "Oh my God, take this sticky face because everybody can tell that you're not having a good time." And I really was not having a good time, because everything I was thinking in the back of my head is like, "Oh my God, now we overspent and we spent ahead of time, and how are we going to be like restrained for the next couple of months, or all these things, or we added to the credit card," and it was just not fun. And I think a lot of young couples, like military spouses, face that around this time of the year, the pressure that they have to be with family, that they have to fulfill some of those commitments. So if you are alone, like Frankie was sharing earlier, if you're alone or if you're in a community but you also don't have the funds to go through, how do you make or keep that positive, so that it's okay for you to celebrate perhaps alone, or maybe build a different type of family scenario?
Exactly. I agree.
I had to learn how to get out when I moved to Germany, because I got a job one day, was going to tell my husband about it. I was so excited. And that night he proposed, and we had never talked about marriage. So on Monday, I was going back to let them know that wasn't going to work. So I think you really have to make your family you two, and then understand that at that time I didn't have anyone, like it was just me and my husband. But I remember a group of military spouses. You have to know yourself, because again, you're not going to like what I'm going to say, but not every military spouse is a good military spouse. Let's make that clear. So their energy is not always positive. So you have to understand that. And that's very important. So it's more of saying, make sure that you have positive energy around you, and it's not negativity about how they've done it. Because when I came on board as a military spouse, I didn't allow no one else to tell me who I was and how I was supposed to act. And a lot of them was acting by what other people said. I remember our first car, it was rusted at the bottom, and as we was driving, you could see it through the bottom of it. And a friend of mine was like, "Well, you should get a new car because of such and such." And I said, "No, because me and my husband had a budget, and we knew what we was going to buy every so many months." And I do think that's a positive energy, but it's also a concerned energy. You have to know the difference when you should move and when you should be still. As you said, your energy is very important. It can make or break you at times, because your energy gives you that motivation to just go this way, or to be still and listen and to be balanced.
Yep. Oh my gosh, what you said is just so powerful. Oh my gosh. And that's that living outside of other people's expectations. because it really doesn't matter. I had like the oldest vehicle going on to the first bait. I was like hiding, but I was like, this is what it is,
It makes noise. It makes noise as it's driving, and you try to look up like, I wonder who car that is. It's yours.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys are describing my life right now. I'm driving a $500 car that was a hit down from one of our Hector's uncle. And anyway, the kids, the two younger kids, they're like embarrassed and they're like, Mom, I'm like, I don't care, because guess what? Those extra $1,000 I could be paying for that nice fancy car are going to your Xbox, your PS4, and all these other yummy things that we get to enjoy. So I don't care. I already drove the nice fancy van, and the latest of the latest in my younger years. Right now, we don't need it. So it's such a fun thing. But Candice, at what point in our military life do you think we sort of hit that, getting out of that box of expectations, and how do we do that?
So I think that it's not even dependent on military experience. I think it's an age-related thing. I think as women especially, we continue to mature into, in our 30s, we're stepping into who we are as who we are. And I talk about this so often with clients, because so often we've lived in this box of, this is what I need to measure up to, this is what is expected of me, all these external validation points that, they're what drive us forward. Then you hit 30 and you're like, do I know myself? Like, do I know what I want? And so how you get out of living for others or others' expectations is by knowing yourself. You're going through that self-discovery process, because it is how you free yourself. You become more of yourself because you know yourself.
Yeah. I agree with that, because on the identity part of it, just as you said, you should know yourself before you was a military spouse. That has nothing to do with military spouse, but a lot of people tag that on, well, as a military spouse, I lost my identity. No, you didn't have an identity before military spouse. Now, that may sound really harsh, but that's the truth. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and know who you are before you even take that step as a woman, as a wife, as, just anything. So that made a lot of sense, that you must know yourself prior to being a military spouse or just being a woman. Because as you get older, you'll realize people opinions of you are not top priority. They don't make or break you. And that's the most important thing, is understanding yourself and live on your own morals, your own standards. So I like that.
I went through that because I was a young mother. I mean, I had my first at 19, and this was prior to meeting my husband, and, was with their father and everything, all three of my kids. And so my identity had been mom for so long. And when I hit that point where I was like, I don't even know what I like. I don't know what my favorite meal is. I don't remember the exact point, but I just recognized that I had to find the things that I enjoyed about myself, about life, and just in general, and develop my own personal identity outside of even being a mother. And so you can relate that to any aspect of what label we wear in our lives.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I could tell the younger, mamas out there, or military spouses, or just anyone out there who has that commitment at home, and they're feeling like boxed out or boxed in, or however you want, just that pressure that you have to leave to that expectations that at some point your kids grow up and they don't want to hang out with you. And you do have all this free time to really find yourself and find that purpose, but also just realign your values and your commitments. And so hang in there. There's powerful future vibes out there for you, at least for myself, that, I think after I hit a certain age, it was just kind of like, when it's like, you know what? I don't care. I became like the I don't care, and understood why when you get a certain age, you become that individual that you don't care. You don't care about anything. You just don't care. And so my kids make fun of me a lot, but it is true. Now I understand.
It just reminds me of like all the times you're like in school or something. Because so back to the story about the kids being embarrassed with the vehicle. My grandfather used to take me to school when he moved in with my mom, and he had like I think that the car was 27 years old at this point. It was a Datsun. And it made so much noise, and I remember being like, "Can you please drop me off at like the, you know?" But now I miss those days, and it's like,
Yeah.
you get over it when you get older. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Candice, how can you spot or identify sources of distractions in your life or in other military lives? How do they handle that distraction?
So distraction, it really depends on what you're putting into your environment. So a lot of us are very distracted through social media, not very
Hmm.
likable conversation, I'm sure. But another great mentor of mine really brought this awareness. I can't remember the scientific study, but he essentially outlined how social media, when you wake up to it being the first thing that you check in with, not only is it like like neuro-wise, making you make so many cognitive decisions because you're
Hmm.
making a decision on whether you like it, share it, move past it, whatever. So you're fatiguing your brain at like the
Yes.
very beginning of the day. And so if you're doing that and then you're comparing it, like compounds the distraction into depression because
Yeah.
you're taking in this external world that you're just like, you start comparing and you start judging, and then
Mhm.
you're like, I don't know why, but I don't feel like doing anything today. And it's because you're distracting your mind with things that are halfway not even valid or real, because we
Right.
see the social real anyway. But how we identify those things that distract us or anything that really depletes your energy. And
Hmm.
like there's tasks that we do that will obviously like we have to do them, right?
Right.
But when it comes to distractions, if it's pulling away from what you want to be doing, then it obviously needs either we need to adapt it into a shorter time period or cut it out altogether. Because distractions show up in their forms of really avoiding doing what we know we need to do, whatever that looks like. And so that's why we distract ourselves. It's because we don't want to do either the internal work of looking
Yes.
inwards, healing, or we don't want to do the next project that we know would move our business forward. There's all different kinds of reasons that we put these distractions. And so how we identify them is check in with the energy. Is it giving or is it depleting?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I believe that sometimes I feel like the distractions can also be like a stronghold. It's almost like holding you in prison because you worry about what people say on Instagram and Facebook. And I'm not big on either one. I do post here and there, but I like to go into some of the ones that have the military spouse. And I remember going into one, and again, when you are posting military spouses that are listening, please know your audience before you make a response to another military spouse, because your problem is not theirs. You
Right.
must know who you are talking to because your energy is coming through your words. And I remember a military spouse was having a hard time, and she was, just kind of trying to understand, but she wasn't understanding her own identity. And I remember one of the ladies, she was letting them know that they didn't do this, 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 or this. But then when I responded, she was like, Franchette, military spouse does not identify me. And right then I started to say, but you'll be the first one that'll use TRICARE because you're retired now. But you're not telling that spouse that this energy that you're giving them is that you are retired. You got a good job at six figures. You you're not giving the full story. I don't do surface Facebook. Either you deep dive and give me your real self, or don't comment to me. So I didn't comment because my real self wanted to come out, and I had to keep all of that
There's
in.
great
That
stuff. There's
energy,
some positive
yeah,
energy, positive
yeah,
energy there.
that positive energy wasn't coming. But I do think that your energy can come through words.
Mhm. Oh
And
yeah.
so, distractions are words, and words are powerful. And once you say them to some women or to military spouses, they hold on to that. And that is not always the truth. Words are not always the truth for your purpose, for your journey.
So
Absolutely.
true.
Oh, that is so true. All right. So before we get it ready closer to end our segment, but before we go, I do want to ask you, Candice, how did you, what made you decide to do what you do? How did you
Yeah.
started this journey of holistic wellness? And is it Ricky, right?
Yeah, Reiki.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard of it from my daughter, my young adult. Before her, she,
Yeah.
2, 3 years ago, I knew nothing about Ricky at all. I just knew Frankie, and that's it. Tell me, I'm sure that I've been the Ricky in
That's so
educating
funny.
you, please.
I love it. Well, and not a lot of people know exactly what it is anyway. And, how I came into it was from a very low space that I was in. I had really suffered from bad anxiety, depression as a young adolescent. And really, back when I grew up, turning 40 in February, it like we didn't talk about mental health. We didn't talk about our feelings. We didn't talk about anything. And so I went so long, then I became a young parent. All these things compounded over my lifetime to where I finally had a moment where I needed to work on myself. And I was just at this moment where I was like, I need to do something or I'm not going to be here. And so what started out as, prayer, journaling, meditation, and working out, I would write out the affirmations. I want this change. I am this change. I'm doing this change. I am this change. And I wrote it out thousands of times because I just knew that I needed to do something different. And when I started studying, like I'd always been connected with like my connection with God, and I use it interchangeably because I do believe in God. Like there's
Mhm.
something higher than us, and I respect anyone that believes, whatever, because that is how we connect in this world. But I always knew that I had this connection. And I felt like I had this ability to feel people's energy and heal. I just really didn't know how to do anything with it. And so once I was on this healing journey and going through my own self-discovery, self-healing, and it is a combination of therapy as well. So I'm a huge advocate for mental health help, like get it, please. Um, and it's hard. I understand. Like it's challenging to want to admit that we need help. But that led into me studying energy and wanting to know more. And like the more I came across these different things, it just came into my life at the right time. And so once I started diving in, it was just like, boom, I've been practicing now for a year, actually. In November was my year mark. And it was like, I just knew I was connected with it. It's like a part of me woke up. And it's really beautiful because we truly are most qualified to help the people we used to be. And that is, again, another great mentor said that. So no credit to me. But it's like you can use your struggle, your story to help the next person heal. And that way it's like you didn't walk through the experience to let it just be nothing. And so I just, like I said, started studying all the things and started helping people. And once you open it up, he's like, okay, here's who you need to help. And so it's been an incredible journey. I'm very grateful. I take it as it's a very sacred energy is sacred. Our energy is sacred. And
Mhm.
everything that is around us carries energy and vibration. And it's really up to us to choose what we want in and around ourselves.
Wow, I'm I'm speechless, Miss Frankie. What are your thoughts? I mean, that's weird for me to be speechless.
Yes. But it's very powerful though, Candace. So thank you. Everything that you're saying. Um, that's what Laura doesn't want to give credit, but she has that type of energy. She gives out positive energy and uplifting energy, and I think people don't realize how important your energy is that you give out, even through Zooms, even through a handshake, a hug. All those things make a difference in what you do. So that's very important.
Yeah. Well, we're all interconnected. And that's the biggest thing. Like, a lot of my sessions are virtual, and it's powerful because we are so connected. That's why you're saying, when you said your words, you can feel it through your words. It's because you can. We're channeling energy every time we write something, and especially sometimes when we're writing real passionate there. Let's be real. You are channeling that energy, and so we feel each other because we're so divinely connected. And that's why, I always say, if I could describe what it's like to experience the energy that flows through when I'm in a healing session, we would never question if we were supported or if we had a purpose, because it is the most divine, supportive, healing energy that I cannot describe. And so it's there, and we're all here for a great purpose. So.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I was a little speechless because when you were describing your journey and how you came into doing what you do, in the back of my head, it was like my young adult, like coming to life, and her struggles in most recent times, and how she has found and is looking to find her inner peace as well. And so I'm going to have to connect her with you and follow up with all of her stuff directly with you. So that's great. Now, of course, for those of you who want to be able to send a shout out, we have some members, and some of them don't show here, some of them do. But like Monica Rios was earlier today watching on our LinkedIn. Miss Tiffany Orner is also out there. So thank you so much. But I also want to send a shout out, a huge shout out, all the way to the Caribbean, to our amazing co-host as well and creator, Ismael Ortiz, who is not here with us today and won't be here with us next month because guess what? He went through the process of transition already, and he's enjoying life after retirement. So he is in Puerto Rico, enjoying life as a retiree now. And so I hope everything is well and enjoying family, as well as a good shout out and congratulations to his spouse, Chris, who was here with us actually last month and shared all about his journey of writing a book. And so that's a huge shout out and virtual hugs to them as well. So, and I'm going to send it over to Miss Frankie so she can close us out.
Well, I just want to say thank you, Candice, for, coming on and just sharing your energy and explaining to other military spouses why you do what you do. And I think that's very important. And if they need to get in contact with you, how would they do that? Can you tell us?
Yeah, so I'm on all of the social media platforms, but if you want to connect with me directly, you can email me. It's super easy. It's thewarriorwithinhealing@gmail.com. And it's The Warrior Within Healing is my LLC because it takes finding the inner warrior sometimes to get through this thing we call life. So.
It's beautiful. Just simple like that.
Yes. Thank you again for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. So.
Thank you. It's so great to meet you. And thank you so much. And for everyone who is out there watching us, join us because my co-host right here, my inner peace and balance of this particular segment, will be here with us also co-hosting while our, and then maybe I hear a little weird sound out there, a little opening for a co-host. And so we're trying to get Miss Frankie to become our permanent co-host as well of the Badazz Military Spouse. Why not? She is the original Badazz Military Spouse Connection, and you'll find out in just a few minutes why she is the original one. And so please, if you want Frankie to stay co-host and be with me here on a regular basis or alternate,
no pressure, Candice. No pressure.
Post it in the comments and say, yes, stay Badazz Military Spouse, aka Frankie, and she will be our co-host. So thank you so much for watching. Hi, Jen. Thank you so much for watching and supporting. We look forward to staying connected with you. So thank you once again, Candice, Miss Frankie. Thank you. Hugs.
Thank you.
So thank you. And that's all for tonight. We'll see you next month in another Badazz Military Spouse Connection. So now everyone who's watching is officially Badazz certified.
When I say badass, you need to know what that word really means to me. That means someone who is authentic, who don't mind taking consequences, to her standing up for what is right, be it walking away from a job, be it standing up and taking the hits for it. I've done it already, and I continue to do it. So if you understand what this whole podcast is about, it is about being authentic and helping each other and giving each other support. You don't have to know each other to help each other as a military spouse. So I am your battle buddy. Any military spouses out there, look me up, have a conversation with me, and we can work together so that you can help the next military spouse, be it here in the United States or in other countries.
For more amazing military podcasts and content, follow us at ParadeDeck.com, the #1 place to meet changemakers. See you next time on Badass Military Spouse Connection, a Parade Deck original.